I came to Boost as a parent of an abused child. I like to call myself an alumni. My very, very first experience with my daughter was that we were coming to a group, and it was being held in a school not far from the committee's offices. And I walked into the school that night with her totally ashamed, totally humiliated, completely unsure of myself, worried about her. And to my shock, there were all sorts of other people there. And I said to her, I don't think we're in the right place. I think this must be a parent night at the school. And little did I know that the problem was so widespread that these were all people and all clients of the committee.
First, I was nervous because I wasn't sure what to expect, because I was still in shock from what had happened to my son. So the family was going through a lot of stress. But when I walked in, there was welcome environment, and I felt at ease.
And it was like coming into a place carrying a whole load of heavy things and being able to hand them off sort of one item at a time until finally we could walk again without that load.
The Metropolitan Toronto Chairman's Special Committee on Child Sexual Abuse was established in 1981 to provide a coordinated response to child sexual abuse in Toronto. Over the past 30 years, the organization has grown, expanded its mandate, changed its name twice, and has become a leader in the fight against child abuse.
When I was chairman of Metropolitan Toronto, I grew increasingly alarmed that there was a lot of sexual abuse amongst children in Toronto. I think it was highlighted more by the Emmanuel Jacques tragedy that took place in the Yonge Street area. But what that did, it polarized Toronto and highlighted in a very meaningful way of things that were going on that people may have talked about quietly, but it didn't break into the public spotlight.
And it may be hard for people to realize this, but 30 years ago, child sexual abuse really wasn't on the horizon. Even within the professional community, child sexual abuse wasn't recognized for the problem that we know it is today.
Tell you, I started doing my first child abuse investigations in 1979. And back then there was no coordination between the police and the Crown Attorney's Office and hospitals and children's aid societies.
I was part of when the special committee started to create what's been known as the protocol groups and the original protocol.
Before the protocol existed, if a teacher noticed that a child was suffering an injury in a classroom, or the child explained, hey, Uncle John hit me last night, and the kid had a big bruise on his face. And the teacher would sit that little kid down and probably take a detailed verbal statement of the child. And then, recognizing it was very serious, would then go to the school principal and say, this is what I've got and I'm concerned about it. Well, the school principal would then sit down with the child and again get a detailed verbal statement off the child. And the principal would say, you know, we should be telling the social worker about this that works at the school. And so the school social worker would take a detailed verbal statement off the child. And you can bet at that point the child is saying, I've had enough. I'm going to start recanting what I'm saying.
Protocol at that time brought together all of the professional community. So police, child welfare, treatment services, boards of education, brought the entire professional community together to work in a way we hadn't before to deal with issues related to child abuse.
There were no prevention or intervention programs, no public information campaigns, and Boost consistently over the years has done a significant amount of work in the area of primary prevention and public education.
Initially, I was involved in co-facilitating classroom programs with them. Specifically, I'm a Great Kid and I'm a Great Little Kid programs. And they educate children about what it means to have healthy relationships. And maybe most importantly, it teaches children that when they have an issue or a concern, that they can come forward and they can speak to a trusted adult.
I remember it really dawning on me how poorly we were handling these cases as Crowns. I had a child waiting out in the courtroom, and you try to call their case when everybody else's cases were finished, and the child had fallen asleep on the bench outside and came into court in the afternoon when she was tired, and she had the crease from the bench in her face, and she saw her dad for the first time and ran across the court, and there was no one there to assist her, to prepare her for it, other than the Crown, and I had met her, but I knew we had to do better. What's now known as Boost was offering services to children in a group kind of preparation model. Their program was really pivotal to easing the anxiety for children and their parents. There was a program to let parents know about the process, who the players were, what the expectations were for them. And children who had been prepared in that way were just treated and did so much better in being able to advise or tell the court what had happened to them.
When I was working at Sick Kids, I dealt with children and families all the time. Back in those days, there weren't a lot of resources in the area of child abuse, and Boost, in its previous incarnation, was one of the hubs, shall we say, of resources that were available. There were dedicated people here who cared and had interest in the area of child sexual abuse at that point, and really could lay out the framework of how a child could navigate through the system outside of the medical evaluation of what I was doing.
Following the tragic death of Martin Cruz, Ken Dryden, then president of the Toronto Maple Leafs, reached out to the professional community to develop a partnership to provide information and education about abuse to the community. This partnership, Martin's Hope, resulted in a public forum that lasted many years and educated thousands of children.
There may, in the first instance, be a natural inclination to get as far away as possible from the whole issue, but if you can resist that inclination, then your inclination is to do as much as possible. And what we decided was to have a public forum, to have it at Maple Leaf Gardens, to open up the gardens to the public, open up the place where the abuse had happened, and to have the kind of conversation that doesn't happen about child abuse.
The Metropolitan Toronto Chairman's Special Committee on Child Sexual Abuse created a focus on child sexual abuse that led to the development of a framework for a coordinated community response. The organization developed programs designed to prevent abuse, provide crisis support, and prepare children to testify in court. The Special Committee later became the Toronto Child Abuse Centre and continued to enhance and expand programs and services. Its mandate was revised to include all forms of abuse. The Making a Difference training program was created to educate professionals working with children and has been delivered to more than 50,000 adults across Ontario. The Crisis Support Group program has evolved into a comprehensive trauma assessment and treatment program for children, youth, and their families. In 2008, the name was changed to Boost Child Abuse Prevention and Intervention to reflect the spirit of giving kids a lift when they need it the most.
I think that what they do here is, I think the best way to describe what they do is they're a lifeline to so many people.
Well, I think that the biggest difference that they have made overall is that they gave children a voice.
And one of the remarkable things is the fundraising that Boost does and the events that they have. At the Boost fundraisers, I mean, lots of people of lots of different backgrounds that are there that are willing to be there, that are willing to talk about, child abuse, that are willing to talk to others about it, and willing to support the work that is being done. That's a big achievement.
And I really and sincerely mean this when I say that I hope they have another 30 years ahead of them.
Boost has accomplished a great deal in 30 years and has helped many children, youth, and their families. Going forward, Boost has ambitious plans to continue to improve the response to child abuse and ultimately reduce the incidence of this significant problem in our society. With the support of its staff, board, volunteers, and foundation directors, as well as its community partners, Boost is dedicated to continuing its efforts to create safe, healthy, and violence-free environments for children and youth.